Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Nazia Iqbal and here's a look at the stories for the day. After 2 years of investigation, India's antitrust regulator has found that Google has been allegedly abusing its dominant position in the App Store to impose its own payments methods on app developers. And for this violation, it has been told to pay a fine of 936 crore rupees. It comes within a week of CCI slapping a fine of 1,338 crore rupees on Google for abusing its dominant position in the Android mobile device ecosystem. So, what do these two decisions mean for the internet giant, Indian app developers, and other stakeholders? Here's our report.
The arcade game Snake, which first featured in Nokia 6110 phones in 1997, went on to become a sensation, hooking an entire generation. It is believed to be one of the first apps, and in just over 2 decades, apps have become an integral part of our daily life, be it for 10-minute groceries or finding a date. And in India, 9 out of 10 smartphone users access these apps over the Google-owned Android operating system. Now, the Competition Commission of India's recent decisions could change the way they use and experience these apps. Let us start with the latest order. CCI has slapped a penalty of about 936 crore rupees on Google. Why? For allegedly abusing its dominant position with respect to its Play Store policies. CCI has also issued a cease and desist order and suggested 8 corrective measures. These include allowing Play Store apps to use third-party billing service providers. To date, Google has required app developers to exclusively use its Google Play billing system, or GPBS, for all customer billings. Using GPBS was made mandatory for paid apps and in-app purchases. Not using GPBS meant that app developers would not be allowed to list their products on the Google Play Store. CCI has said that this was an unfair condition on app developers. Not being listed on the Google Play Store would be a death blow for any app in India. Google's Android mobile operating system dominates in India with a market share of about 95%. Apple's iOS has close to a 4% share. Google was also found to be not using GPBS for its own applications such as YouTube. The CCI called this a discriminatory practice. Google's policy was also denying market access to competing mobile wallets and apps facilitating payment through UPI. Coming back to Tuesday's order, what are the other corrective measures? Let us say a condition is unfair, unreasonable, discriminatory, or disproportionate to the services provided to app developers. Then it cannot be imposed by Google. This includes price-related conditions. To app developers, Google says it offers services like hosting and distribution, discovery, and technical infrastructure, among others. The search giant must also publish its payment policy in an unambiguous manner, and the policy should not discriminate against other apps that allow payments through UPI in favor of their Google counterpart. Now, let's come to the impact. Both Google and Apple charge developers between 15 and 30% in commissions on the purchase of paid apps and in-app purchases. A number of Indian developers have objected, saying that high commissions could significantly dent their profit margins. This would then erode business viability and stifle innovation. So, Indian app developers have hailed CCI's latest decision as a collective win for startups. This is despite the fact that Google had launched a pilot program in March, allowing a few developers to offer an additional billing system. Google had also announced a cut in commissions to 15% from 30% for the first $1 million in revenue that developers earned each year, following a similar move by Apple. South Korea is the only other country that has fined Google for its pricing strategy. The country amended its Telecommunications Act last year to prohibit App Store operators from forcing the use of only their proprietary billing systems.
So overall, obviously, it's a very good move. What CCI has done is it has not put any floor pricing or the ceiling price, as we say. What it will do is the market will discover the price or the commission of the apps which you give to the payment mechanism. Market will discover that on its own. What it also does is that Google, with its resources and the wherewithal, can very much match the price or the compete with the price which the market will discover, and let the developers stick on to or be loyal to the platform which is already providing. It can create a process and the incentive mechanism which can certainly do that. But in the long run, I think it's a very positive move for the developers.
While Indian app developers rejoice, one expert has said that CCI's remedies relating to Google's Play Store policies were excessive. He added that they would raise significant challenges and impact Google's incentive to innovate. After CCI's second penalty, Google said that Indian developers had benefited from the technology and flexibility of Google Play and its Android OS. The tech giant also said that it was reviewing the decision to evaluate its next steps. Last week, CCI imposed a penalty of about 1,338 crore rupees on Google. Why? For allegedly abusing its dominant position in multiple markets in the Android mobile device ecosystem. In that instance too, the CCI issued a cease and desist order and asked Google to modify its conduct within a defined timeline. Under the Android OS licensing terms, manufacturers have to pre-install the entire Google mobile suite on their device, and there is no option to uninstall the apps. Now, CCI's order will give device makers the freedom to opt for app ecosystems other than Android. However, experts have pointed out that there is a dearth of popular substitutes. You don't need to look beyond the likes of YouTube and Google Maps to verify that fact. As such, many manufacturers will have little incentive to switch from popular Google apps to alternatives. Not to mention, device makers have saved millions in R&D costs by using Google's OS.
Google has wherewithal, Google has such demand and possibly good arrangements with the OEMs they can do that they can not pre-burn, but again, OEM, without having been forced to develop their own apps, they would willingly like to go for the same apps and promote those same apps like Google Maps and Play Store and YouTube and search and other stuff on their phones. From a geo or a third OS point of view, right now in the near and the medium term, there is no third option available. Even if a third-party ecosystem comes in or an OS comes in, they would still highly likely that it's built on Android kernel.
Soon, CCI might issue additional orders against Google in relation to the smart TV segment and news referral services. In response to the recent orders, Google has said it is exploring legal options, and it will fight such orders tooth and nail. CCI has also expedited its probe against Apple Inc. for alleged denial of market access. However, CCI's approach towards Apple could differ from the one it adopted with Google. Ultimately, how the Google case proceeds and concludes will bring clarity about CCI's future course of action and the contours of Digital India.
Notwithstanding the ongoing troubles, Google CEO Sundar Pichai celebrated Diwali by watching the India-Pakistan match in the T20 World Cup. In Delhi and NCR, Diwali was celebrated with usual fervor. Cracker ban too went up into smoke again. But there was a pleasant break from the post-Diwali blues. The air around this time was cleanest in the last 7 years. So, what changed this time? Let's find out.
The Delhi government's ban on firecrackers was of little help on Monday, the day of Diwali, as many residents chose to defy the prohibition. Opposition BJP and Congress on Tuesday hit out at the Aam Aadmi Party government, alleging it had failed to implement the ban. To fight extreme winter pollution, Delhi government had in September announced a complete ban on the production, sale and use of all types of firecrackers till January 1st, including on Diwali, a practice it has been following for the past 2 years. Even as Delhiites flouted the ban with impunity on Diwali evening, they woke up to a pleasant surprise the next morning. The dip in air quality wasn't as bad as recent years. The 24-hour average air quality index at 4 pm on Tuesday stood at 303, the lowest for the day after Diwali since 2015, when the Central Pollution Control Board started maintaining air quality data. On Monday, the city recorded an air quality index or AQI of 312, the second best for Diwali in 7 years. The city had recorded an AQI of 281 on Diwali in 2018. An AQI between 301 and 400 still falls under the very poor category and can cause respiratory illness on prolonged exposure. The concentration of the poisonous PM2.5 particulate matter was 15 times more than safe limits in the 24-hour period starting Monday, according to data from the Delhi Pollution Control Committee. Last year, Delhi woke up to a blanket of smog enveloping the city on the day after Diwali. Why was it different this time?
Direction of the stable fire, which normally remains northwesterly during this period of time, has changed yesterday and become southwesterly, where there are no fire. So the intrusion is minimal, maybe 5 to 8% of that. Number two, because it is not much cooler and is still relatively warmer, and wind speed continue to remain high, which is above 9 km per hour. So the accumulation never reached the saturation level. So accumulation remain, I think, equal to the ventilation, and hence air quality continues. So the worst was over at 2 am, and morning, when normally the winds become stagnant, never became stagnant, and it continued to be more than 9 km per hour. So the ventilation was very fast.
Delhi is the world's most polluted capital, and its air becomes particularly bad from mid-December to February as heavy cold air traps dust, vehicle emissions and smoke from burning crop stubble in states like Punjab and Haryana. Emissions from firecrackers and farm fires have contributed significantly to Delhi's PM2.5 pollution on Diwali over the years. The contribution of stubble burning to Delhi's pollution on Diwali increased to about 10%, the highest this year so far, according to SAFAR, a forecasting agency under the Union Ministry of Earth Sciences. The share of farm fires in Delhi's PM2.5 pollution was 25% on Diwali in 2021, 32% in 2020, and 19% in 2019. Stubble burning in Haryana and Punjab peaks in October and November. While its contribution to air pollution on Diwali was not significant, it is likely to rise sharply in the coming days. Since Diwali was observed early in the season this year, moderately warm and windier conditions prevented rapid accumulation of pollutants from firecrackers bursting and reduced the effect of stubble burning.
This has been a warmer Diwali because it happened in October, and which means that the usual phenomenon of winter, when we have inversion, air gets trapped, there is no wind in the city, and pollution gets trapped therefore, and builds that severe spiral of pollution. That condition has not yet built up in Delhi. Second, we had good wind speed all through, and the fact that it was a very clean October overall because of delayed rains and continuous rains that we had seen. Another factor which is added to this, this also did not coincide with very intense crop fire, because crop fire has started, but the intensity of the fire is still not very high. But also keep in mind that we also get very bad smog episodes during the latter part of winter when there is no crop fire, no Diwali, which is the late December, early January. And that is a clear evidence that pollution is high in the region.
Several factors were favorable this year. During winters, when Delhi experiences temperature inversion, cold air at the surface mixed with pollutants gets trapped under a layer of warmer air that acts as a lid. But an early Diwali, warm weather, windy conditions, a delay in withdrawal of monsoon, excessive October rains, a delayed paddy harvesting and in turn stubble burning meant that pollution did not get trapped near the ground. This led to relatively better air quality than previous years in the capital this Diwali.
A fog of uncertainty also looms large on financial markets. After a record 2021, the IPO market has turned moribund. The September 2022 quarter was the worst since the pandemic hit July 2020 quarter. Last quarter, only 4 issues managed to raise a cumulative 2,965 crore rupees. However, as sentiment turns positive for India, around 10 firms are looking to raise nearly 9,000 crore rupees via initial public offerings over the next 45 days. So, will the revival in the primary market activity suck out liquidity from the secondary market? We find out in our next report. The volatility in the secondary market had brought the activity in the primary market to a near standstill over the past few months. Corporates, analysts said, were waiting for stability to return before they tapped the markets for funds. According to capital market data provider Prime Database, 14 Indian corporates raised 35,456 crore rupees through main board initial public offerings in the first half of fiscal 2022-23. The amount raised, it said, was 32% lower than the 51,979 crore rupees raised through 25 IPOs in the corresponding period of FY22. Among the ones that did tap the markets, 20,557 crore rupees, or 58% of the amount, was via the IPO of LIC, according to Pranav Haldia, Managing Director, Prime Database Group. This was followed by offers of Delivery and Rainbow Children's Hospital. However, a turnaround in the primary market activity may not be too far away. According to investment bankers, nearly 10 firms are planning to tap the markets for funds in the next 4 to 6 weeks. The companies that wish to tap the primary market include 5-Star Business Finance, Pristine Logistics, Landmark Cars, Senco Gold, DCX Systems, Keynes Technology, Traxon Technologies, and Uniparts India. Of these, the IPO of Traxon Technologies was subscribed 2 times. The 309 crore rupees IPO received bids of 4.27 crore shares. According to NSE data, 2.12 crore shares was on offer. So, will the revival in the primary market activity suck out liquidity from the secondary markets? Satish Ramanathan, CIO Equity at JM Financial, believes that the markets have adequate liquidity to absorb the same. The key factor, he said, is on the quality and valuation of the issues.
In general, we are positive on the market money flow because the domestic savings are continuing to come in, as witnessed even in the recent month. We have also looked at the IPO pipeline of about 12,000 crores, and we believe that even though the pipeline is quite large, the basic market sentiment cannot be disturbed too much, primarily because of the money flow, and IPOs in general will be subscribed only if the quality of the business is strong and the valuations are reasonable.
Amrish Baliga, an independent market analyst too, believes that good businesses at attractive valuations will always find buyers.
Though the secondary markets have corrected, the IPO market will continue to evince interest as long as investors see an opportunity to profit from it. IPOs which are rightly priced have been getting overwhelming response. The recent IPOs of Harsha, Dreamfolks, or Serma are an example. Where the valuations are expensive, or if there's any other major concern about the company, the interest is low and it further gets hammered on listing. So, rupees 12,000 crores of IPOs is not too large for our market, which has witnessed single IPOs larger than this cumulative figure in the recent past. The key, I think, is pricing. The promoters also should keep in mind that once the stock falls off the radar, getting investor interest back is an uphill task. So, it's better to underprice the issue and enjoy investor interest in the longer run.
On Thursday, the markets will track Q2 results of 37 companies including SBI Card, PNB Housing Finance and Tata Chemicals. The world, its economy and the financial markets are oscillating between hope and despair for quite a while now. Exchange of bombs and charges between Russia and Ukraine are keeping us all on the edge, and it is getting murkier. This week, Russia shot off a letter to UN Security Council claiming that Ukraine may detonate dirty bomb in its own territory, only to blame Moscow for it later, while Kyiv has alleged that Russia is preparing the ground for use of the dirty bomb. But what exactly is a dirty bomb? Watch our next report to find out.
On the sidelines of the armed conflict, Russia and Ukraine are also locked in a war of propaganda, and Kyiv has a slight edge here due to extensive support from the West. But Russia is not lowering the guard. Last week, it wrote a letter to the UN Security Council. Its diplomat too asked for a closed-door meeting with the Council on Tuesday. But why? Moscow suspects that Kyiv will use a dirty bomb in its own territory to defame it. A dirty bomb contains conventional explosives like dynamite and radioactive materials such as uranium, which makes them cheaper and easier to transport when compared with nuclear weapons. When exploded, the material inside the bomb is scattered through the air. Although dangerous, it is not as destructive as a nuclear bomb. The intention of the dirty bomb is to cause panic and fear among public rather than actual physical damage. Hence, it is also usually referred to as a weapon of mass disruption as opposed to a weapon of mass destruction, which is the case for nuclear explosions. Dirty bomb is a psychological weapon. The scattered material after an explosion depends on many other factors such as wind at the time of the blast. The radioactive spread, if inhaled, near the blast could be somewhat dangerous. Previously, there is no record of successful dirty bomb explosion anywhere in the world. However, multiple attempts have failed. Russia says Ukraine is planning to use a dirty bomb as a provocation tactic against Moscow and escalate the war. Russia has not offered any evidence to back the claims. The West, including NATO and European Union, have categorically denied such claims as false. Everyone understands the source of everything dirty that can be imagined in this war, said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukrainian President has again slammed Russia. His foreign minister has invited UN inspectors to visit Ukraine, saying they have nothing to hide. The UN's nuclear watchdog IAEA has assured its inspectors will revisit the sites.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
Well, Chechen rebels tried to detonate a dirty bomb at a park in Moscow in 1995, but didn't succeed. Well, that's all we have for you today. We will be back with more news and analysis in our next episode. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.